Hi, I'm Lacey Wolf. I'm the Health Promotion Administrator, Employees Retirement System of Texas, and I'm so excited to introduce to you our speaker today, Director Rodney Franklin. Rodney Franklin is a dynamic speaker, and he will inspire you to get out and see our Texas state parks. You're going to see throughout this presentation beautiful photos of all the different parts of Texas. There are 88 state parks, and the biodiversity of our state is absolutely astounding. Director Franklin has been working for state parks for more than 30 years. He started his career at the Sam Bell Maxey House in Paris, Texas when he was 17 years old. And then he went on to Texas A&M University, came back to manage the Sam Bell Maxey House, and then went on to be promoted to the Lake Bob Sandlin Park. And then he became the complex manager at Cooper Lake State Park. He stayed there for 8 years. And then he was promoted to be regional director at State Parks Region 5, where he served until August of 2017. He has been the division director over all of our state parks since December of 2018, which is a huge responsibility. And we're just really grateful for his time and his willingness to share this great information with all of us. So I hope you will enjoy this great presentation, and I hope it inspires everybody to get outside and enjoy some of the beauty of our amazing state. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them to me. I have my contact information at the end of the webinar. Enjoy, and here's Director Franklin.
All right, very good. Well, Lacey, first of all, thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. Anytime I get a chance to talk about state parks or getting outdoors, I'm going to jump at the chance. So I do appreciate you inviting me. And again, my name is Rodney Franklin, State Parks Division Director of Texas Parks and Wildlife. And I want to start with this first slide has several photos and just a microcosm of the various activities that you can enjoy at state parks. So that opening slide there is kind of indicative of what the rest of the presentation will look like. So to begin with, I'll start at the beginning. Make sure I can. We'll start in my youth. As you can see, for some reason, I was a fan of sports coats and wide lapels and bow ties. And at least back then I was. Fortunately, I've got a profession where I don't have to wear a suit and tie, let alone a bow tie every day. So I am glad about that. But this is a picture of me and my mom and my brother, and wanted to point out my mom's hairdo there. That gives you a little indication of the year that may have been. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but that hairdo may be an indication of that. But this is me as a kid, and I wanted to start the presentation letting y'all get to know me a little bit better. So early on, as a kid, I thought my career might be one of professional sports. Certainly, my time in Pee Wee League football was very enjoyable, and I had some passion for football, and my passion still remains today. I love football, but my passion didn't match my growth spurt, and so I had to give up my football career. So I had a I burned hot in my football career. I peaked at Pee Wee League football, and that is where that ended. And luckily, I found other passions and music. I'm a drummer, and I was in a band in high school and did some other things. So one thing I'm glad you can't see is my afro looks like my mom's. You just can't see that in this photo, but it was helped me. It protected me from concussions, even though I had to have a bigger football helmet. So that's me as a kid. Also, as mentioned, the passion for outdoors. My time on the NASCAR circuit was a little bit longer than my football career. Actually, it was shorter than my football career. I did not become a NASCAR driver. I just did that to see who all of the 150 people are paying attention. I know some of y'all are doing emails out there, but when I said NASCAR, you might have actually looked at the screen. So this was one of the driving schools I went to. It was a lot of fun. And just one of the things you will note as you see some of these photos of me is, and Lacey mentioned it, I do enjoy being outside. I do enjoy nature. I have a passion for the outdoors. I love fishing. And that started in my time at Boy Scouts and my time fishing with my dad. I'm really thankful for my time with Boy Scouts too, because while me and my dad fished all the time and we were outside all the time, if I needed my parents to take me camping or set up a tent or sleep outside, I was going to be waiting a long time because their passion for camping is not the same as mine, even though they have a very much a passion for the outdoors. And my dad and I grew up fishing and still love to fish, but it was my time in Boy Scouts that actually introduced me to overnighting outside. And so I'm thankful for that time, but it's all led me to a point early in my childhood. I love being outside, and that's remained today. And as you can see, I do like to travel. I will give you a hint. This is not Texas, but if y'all, I will pose this question. If y'all have an idea of where this is, and if someone's out there who knows me and have seen these photos before, no cheating, but others of you that may like to travel, and I will give you a hint. This is not in Texas, but any thoughts on where this might be? You might post that in the chat. I'd love
to say right up front that I love your choice of hat and shirt there colors.
Oh,
so.
Excellent. You noted that there's an Aggie theme to a lot of my photos for some reason.
So we got a lot of responses coming in. I'm going to read some of them. Someone asked China, Machu Picchu, Alaska, Montana, Alaska, Peru, the Andes, China, Alaska, Great Wall, Machu, Peru, Yosemite, China, Ireland, Colorado. So go ahead and tell them where you are. Oh, someone also said Canada. Close.
Okay. Yeah, close. So on the left there with the Aggie hat on, that is Alaska. I saw some of y'all did say Alaska. And on the right is Machu Picchu in Peru. It is. You're absolutely right. So some folks maybe either have traveled or seen photos of Machu Picchu. It's one of my. I use that photo because it's one of my favorite photos. It was a spectacular trip for me. I really enjoyed it. It was several years ago now. I find that I have less time to travel these days, but certainly that was a fantastic trip. What you don't see in that photo is the fact that I'm glad to be sitting down, because part of what I was doing was resting, because there's a lot less oxygen up there at that altitude and a lot of steps. So I was taking quite a few breaks, but that was a great place to take a break. And I will tell you, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the outdoors can have a very much a positive effect on your mental and physical well-being. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you can see that smile on my face in both of those photos. I'm very happy because nature has a way of creating smiles in people. All right, let's see here. So we'll start at the beginning. It starts, as Lacey mentioned, in Paris, Texas. That is Paris, Texas, not Paris, France. You can tell by the cowboy hat on the Eiffel Tower, which is one of the landmarks there in Paris, and that's my hometown. And I started when I was in high school at the Sandbell Maxey House State Historic Site there in Paris, Texas. So, and I will tell you, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, I have been everywhere from the very top of that house, painting some of the cedar shingles to the underneath that house that you can't see, because I was the one smallest enough to fit in some of the crawl spaces underneath the house. Every square inch of that house that you see there, I have painted in my life. On the right is the formal gardens. I took care of that. I mowed every inch of the grounds there, and even picked weeds out of the bricks there in on the walkway. So that's where I started my career. learned how to work. I had my my first experience working at this site, and my first experience with Texas Parks and Wildlife as a 17-year-old kid. And fortunately, I was able to become the superintendent at that site in my hometown after graduating from Texas A&M. From there, Lake Bob Sandlin State Park as superintendent, beautiful area, beautiful park there. And then Cooper Lake State Park as well. And I will tell you, as you work as a superintendent and you have a state park as your backyard, if you're an outdoors person like I am and you love spectacular views like this, it is great living on site at a state park and having this view every evening is something that makes all the tough days and the challenging days worth it. But I've had an opportunity to work at some beautiful places in Texas and go to a lot of state parks in Texas. I have not been to them all. I am working on that, and I will achieve that goal. I've got about 6 left to go, and I will achieve that before the year's out, I'm hoping. So my schedule is a little crazy these days, but the opportunity to work and be a part of state parks is something that has just really been a blessing for me. Part of the reason it's been a blessing is I really do believe in the mission. The mission of Texas Parks and Wildlife is, in essence, just taking care of some very special places in Texas. We provide outdoor recreation opportunities for folks. We definitely do that in state parks. We provide hunting and fishing opportunities. We take care of the natural and cultural resources, but most importantly, we do that for the enjoyment and use of not only the present generations, but future generations. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. I will tell you that that means a lot to me because someone invited me to join the Texas Parks and Wildlife team. Someone encouraged me and got me inspired about being in the outdoors as a kid. And it has helped me become a conservation professional and be passionate about it. So that's why I like this mission, because it is a joy to see other kids light up, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, and later become conservation professionals. Not to mention, as we will talk about, the health benefits and the physical and mental benefits of just being outside. So right now, I'll ask another poll question or pose another questions to y'all. State parks has something for everyone. There's a ton of different activities you can do outside and a ton of different activities you can do in state parks. So I'll ask y'all, what are some of your favorite outdoor activities that you like to do? And you can type those in the question and answer portion. In this photo, you can see former President George Bush enjoying a bike ride at Palo Duro Canyon during a Wounded Warriors ride, a great event. But this is one of many events or activities you can enjoy. So I'm going to look at the chat to see if anybody is saying what some of their favorite activities are. Yeah, we got swimming and camping. That is excellent.
You got lots of responses coming in here.
Yeah.
Hiking, biking, camping, swimming, foraging, stargazing and bird watching, walking my dog, kayaking, biking, working out. Yeah, lots of great responses. Thanks for bringing those in.
Yeah. So that's fantastic to hear, and all of those responses are great. Those are all great activities, and they were all different, right? Just like the folks on this presentation, everybody has a different interest, and that's what makes Texas State Park so great, because no matter what the adventure you choose or your outdoor activity, there's a place in Texas and there's a place in state parks where you can enjoy that activity. I didn't see anybody say rock climbing, but even some of the things you don't think about or you want to learn or you want to become a part of, there's some adventures, there's some things, some activities that you could do, like this gentleman is enjoying at Lake Mineral Wells State Park. There's rock climbing activities. I saw kayaking as part of what some folks like to do. This is at Fort Parker State Park. They're on the river there at Fort Parker. And this one also, you might notice, it looks like these two are hiking, but in the little girl's hand, there's a GPS unit. So geocaching is an activity that became popular several years ago, and we still have some geocache spots in Texas in some of our state parks that people still like to use their GPS unit to find. So parks like Inks Lake, great places for people to get outside and hike. I saw horseback riding. Palo Duro Canyon was one of the favored parks for a few people. And when you look at this photo, I think you can absolutely tell why Lacey and others, why Palo Duro Canyon is a favorite for folks. It is absolutely spectacular and beautiful, and people like to ride their bikes there. People like to hike there. There are horses and a stable there. You can don't have to have a horse if you want to enjoy horseback riding. They'll take you on a horseback ride there in Palo Duro Canyon. And when you think about places, especially like Palo Duro Canyon, where not only are you enjoying a park and you're horseback riding, but you're doing it in a place where Americans used to do those same thing. Native Americans used to call this place homes. People before us used to call places like this home, and they rode horses in those areas too. People that helped settle Texas and moved in a long time ago rode horses in this same area. So there's a lot of history associated with our state parks. Parks like Palo Duro Canyon have CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps structures there. Those folks worked very hard, helped rebuilding a nation, but also built a lot of state parks across the country, and a lot of them in Texas. So there's history and there's activity you can do, and just being a part of that, being outside is just, when you think about it and you're at these places where these historic events happen and people work so hard, it is just awe-inspiring to me to be a part of that. And Texas State Parks has a number of adventures, and one thing I didn't see anybody say on their adventure is sliding down the sand dunes in a sand disc at Monaghan Sandhill State Park. So when I say there's a variety of activities to enjoy in parks, there is no doubt about that. So whether or not you enjoy the beach, or you enjoy West Texas, or the big trees of East Texas, there's a park in that area and an activity for each and every one of you. So let's talk about some of the benefits of that. I think it's a well-known fact. Plenty of surveys, plenty of data, plenty of research to let folks know that just being in nature has benefits to the body, mind, and soul. It rejuvenates the body, mind, and soul. When you're active in the outdoors, there are plenty of benefits for you health-wise. We all know that being active, which include walking, you can walk in your neighborhood for sure. Any walking or activity that you do can have some health benefits, but doing that in nature, what better place if you're gonna walk, and I say walk and not hike, because sometimes when we use the word hike, that conjures up an image in people's mind that is maybe like a Sherpa and a big backpack going up Mount Everest. That is called a hike in some people's mind, or that's the vision they conjure up. But when you talk about just taking a stroll or taking a walk in nature, that's hiking. That really is what that is. So, and a lot of people like to do that, and may not have the same vision of what a hike is. Because I know if you ask my mom or my grandmother if she wanted to go on a hike, she might say no. But if you ask if you want to take a walk outside, absolutely, they do that all the time. So that's why it's important. The benefits of that is important to talk about, because you talk about heart disease, hypertension, all those things are benefited by taking a walk in nature. It decreases the risk of heart disease. It decreases or lowers blood pressure. Definitely improves your mood. It can lower stress. It's proven that folks that are recovering from surgery or injury can heal faster if they have view of nature in their room, or if they can spend some time outside. So there's definitely a benefit to being active outside. And what better way to do it than to do it in some of the most spectacular, beautiful places in Texas, in some of our state parks. So we're going to talk about now a little bit about the health benefits for kids too. I mentioned early on that my passion for the outdoors started when I was very young. I mentioned my time in Boy Scouts, and that's why I like this photo. It was captured at an event at Lake Whitney State Park, and we have one of our park superintendents, park police officers, engaging one of the kids that's at that event. He's not giving that kid a ticket. A lot of people will say, is he signing his ticket that he just got? No, the kid's not getting a citation. He's learning is what he's doing, and he's taking notes. And one of the things I like people to understand is I have been both of these people in this video or in this picture. I have been the kid that was a Boy Scout that was I was on my first camping trip, asking my Scoutmaster a lot of questions and taking notes for a merit badge. And I have been the park police officer, superintendent, that has engaged a group of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or youth in the outdoors. And I've seen the wide eyes and the smiles as people were absorbing what they were learning about nature. And that engagement starts at a young age. That sense of wonder when you catch your first fish. We talk about our mission, and we talk about what we like to do in state parks, taking care of these places for present and future generations. And what we're really doing is we're making smiles and we're making memories, memories that last a lifetime. And not only do those memories benefit these kids, but there is a positive benefit on their mental and physical well-being. Some of the research shows that nature helps children in a lot of ways, whether it be, we've already talked about mental and physical, but their higher self-esteem, they do better in school, they work better with other people, they're more creative, they're better problem solvers, they have higher self-confidence, and they feel connected to nature. But I also wanted to talk about the very last sentence in this slide, where it says they're more likely to become tomorrow's conservation leaders. And there are a few examples of that later on, but it certainly was the case for me, to turn my love of fishing with my dad and my time camping with my friends and Boy Scouts to a job where I have to support, it is my job to support the people of Texas and beyond coming and enjoying those experiences at state parks. And it is just, when I think about that, I'm in awe that I have a job that actually creates that feeling of well-being and people and joy and making memories and smiles, because it happened for me as a youth, and it allowed me to become a conservation leader, and it happened for the group of folks on your screen right now. What I like to say about this photo is the moment that led to this photo didn't happen 2 hours before or 5 minutes where we said, is this a good spot for this photo? The moment that led to this photo happened years and years ago, when each one of these folks were kids and they were playing outside and engaging in the outdoors. And it gave them that passion for the outdoors to be one of the folks that now takes care of these special places that they like to enjoy. So that's another reason why we do what we do in state parks and engage our kids. Not only does it help the kids mentally and physically, but it helps everyone be more connected to nature and want to be a part of protecting these special places. These are some of the photos of folks that are enjoying what we do in state parks, being led by Superintendent Edwin Quintero. He is the superintendent at Copper Break State Park, does a fantastic job working with a group of folks, teaching them how to kayak and getting them engaged in the outdoors. And his passion for the outdoors shows every day too, which is why you see that big smile on his face. So want to talk about this photo real quick. Darren Peoples is one of our game wardens for Texas Parks and Wildlife. Darren and I go way back, actually. And so if you go back in time, about 20 years before this photo was taken, Darren was a high school student and I was a superintendent at Cooper Lake State Park. And his dad reached out to a friend of mine and asked if Darren could spend some time with me, because Darren was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And he was thinking about being a game warden and wanted to learn a little bit about what it meant to be a state park police officer, and or a game warden, and learn a little bit about my job. And what better way to do that than spend the morning fishing? There's a little secret spot at Cooper Lake State Park that I'm not going to share with y'all right now because it is a secret. It needs to remain a little secret pond with some bass in it. But if you really ask me, I'll tell you where it is. But we spent the morning fishing, and Darren was asking me a bunch of questions about my job and my job as a police officer, and my job taking care of Cooper Lake State Park, and also the game warden's role as well. We spent the morning, we caught a bunch of fish, which was good, had a great time, had lunch there at the park because I was living on site at the time, and just had a great day. And it seemed he was hanging on every word I was saying. He was really enthralled and asking a lot of questions, but you never know when you're talking to somebody, especially someone young, if they're really engaged or paying attention or not. But Darren went on to graduate from Texas A&M University, which I may have had a little bit to do with that as well. I'm not sure, but he went to Texas A&M University, became a game warden, and excelled because I was at a commission meeting not too long ago. It was this time last year, and Darren received the Texas Boating Officer of the Year recognition award as a game warden. And of course, I went up to him afterwards and congratulated him and gave him a big hug. And one of the things he was saying as he shook my hand is, we both come a long way since fishing at Cooper Lake State Park. So that just let me know that Darren remembers that day. Of course, I remember that day. He was going to be successful no matter what. But the little moments that we spend with youth outside can have a tremendous impact on them. So when I talk about making memories and creating smiles, that is real because I've seen it in people. I've felt it before, and it lives itself out on a daily basis with people like Darren and others that we will meet later. So the restorative attributes of nature, nature connecting families, nature connecting people. Families that get outside and enjoy nature together are closer as a family unit. And certainly this photo of the Comanche Indian Nation. This is the Parker family, the 1/5 from the right. I don't know if you can see you won't be able to see I don't know if you can see my mouse there, but her name is Lenora Parker. She is the great-granddaughter of Quanah Parker. You may have heard that name. Quanah Parker obviously spent a lot of time in Texas with the Comanche Nation. But this family, they're all relatives, cousins, aunts, and uncles, but they hadn't seen each other and hadn't been together for 20 years before this photo. But they came together at a state park and reconnected at a state park at the same place where their great-great-grandfather had roamed all those years ago. And they just seeing their smiles and them thanking us for bringing them together and allowing them to gather at this spot, it just shows that state parks has a healing effect. Nature has a way of connecting people, and certainly this was an example of that as well. When we talk about connecting people to nature, you know, when I talk about that is in our folks in the field, we connect all people to nature. Everyone welcome to state parks because everyone needs to feel that sense of unity with their neighbors, especially during trying times. It's better, it's more necessary than ever during times of troubles to connect with each other and to connect with our neighbors and to connect to the larger world. And being outside in nature helps us do that. This is one of my favorite photos. I'm sure some people, and you can type that in the chat if you know where this might be. Let me know if you've been to this area, and let me know if you recognize this and know exactly where we are in this photo. But these are two of good friends of mine. And when we talk about the diversity that exists in nature, we like having diversity in our state parks. I don't know if you can tell which one is me, but I'm the one in the middle there. That is me, in case you couldn't tell. But any thoughts on where we might be in taking this picture?
Man, people have nailed this one right off the bat.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a few people who said California, because it does sort of look like California. But yeah, the first person to get it right was Carolyn Hammonds with the Franklin Mountains in El Paso. So.
Yep.
Very good.
That's good. That is exactly right. This is Franklin Mountains in El Paso, Texas. And I will tell you, this was quite a hike, well worth it. And you know, one of the things I like to say is that Mother Nature doesn't really care what my GPA was in high school or college. Thank goodness. Mother Nature doesn't care how fast I walk, or how slow I walk, if I was the first one up the mountain or the last one up the mountain at Ranger Peak, which I'm not saying that I was last, but yes, I was last. I was the last one to make it up, but because it was quite a hike. But I tell you, the hike was worth it, and it didn't matter that I was last because I was able to take my time and take in the scenery, and I took in the scenery more than others did, so it took me a little longer to make it up, but it was well worth it because I felt closer to the two people in that photo, just in the laughs and the stories we told. And this is another reason I like this photo is because I don't know if you can see that right, that red X right there. On the other side, right where that red X is, on the other side of this, the river you see here, that is Mexico. So that is Mexico, and this is El Paso. So really you see not just two cities, but two countries coming together here. And just a spectacular view of seeing that come together was just a nice visual for this photo, and it was a nice view for sure. And as I mentioned, it connects us to the larger world. It connects us to each other. It connects us with our neighbors, not to mention all of the other positive benefits of being outside. And as I mentioned, you know, nature doesn't care what color your skin is. Nature doesn't care who you voted for. It just is there for you to enjoy and take care of. And I am just thankful to be able to take care of it and provide places like this for folks to enjoy. So nature can restore. We've talked about this. It improves mood. It lowers stress for sure, just being outside. And then when you're active outside, the health benefits. It gives you a sense of calm, gives you a sense of balance. Who among us can't use an improved mood or a restored sense of calm and balance and lower stress in our life? I think if nothing else, one of the things being isolated and being quarantined and being cooped up in our homes, one of the things that has shown us all is that there's folks that really crave being outside in nature. And certainly we've seen that in state parks. Folks were missing their state parks for the brief time that we were closed. So folks want to get outside. They need to get outside because it's good for their soul, and it helps them. When we were closed and we opened up for new reservations, on the first day we opened up, 22,000 reservations were made on that day. So it just is a testament to how much people want to get outside. And the reason they want to is because of all those things on this slide, all the benefits. One of the things I want to talk about too is this young lady who impresses me so much. On the left side of the screen, this young lady right here. Her career, kind of like mine, she started in high school, in a high school intern program at Palo Duro Canyon State Park. She worked at Palo Duro when she was in high school, and also worked at Palo Duro while she was going to college there. She came up with the idea of doing a nature hike or interpretive hike for the hearing impaired. So our interpreter is explaining some of what folks are seeing, and Currie, her name is Currie Case, she is using American Sign Language to sign what he's talking about. And so we had a nature walk with the hearing impaired, and it was her idea. It was her brainchild as a college student, a high school or college student. It was her idea, and certainly her experience at Palo Duro Canyon helped those folks connect to nature, because the number of smiles on that tour was fantastic. And the very first question after everything was all over is, when can we do it again? So it just goes to speak to anybody can have a great idea, and our folks are passionate about helping people connect. And certainly that can have an effect on a high school student that works as an intern, and then where they end up working with us later on. Currie, after she graduated and was still working for us, ended up going to the Law Enforcement Academy, the Game Warden Academy there in Hamilton, and she is now a state park police officer for Palo Duro Canyon. So she's up there helping to protect the folks at Palo Duro Canyon and protect the state park there, and provide education to folks and work with our folks that visit Palo Duro Canyon State Park. So it's one of my absolute favorite stories, because Currie is absolutely a great person, and who knows, 20 or 30 years from now, she's going to be the one giving this presentation as director at state parks. So I'm really excited about that. But it also just goes to show, when we connect with folks early, it is true. They will later become conservation leaders. So let's talk real quickly about how can folks experience state parks. If I want to go to a state park, what do I need to do, Rodney? Let's get to that, because there are so many great ones. And the best place to start is our website, because you can do a little research at home. You can be at home and search for the state park you want to go to. Certainly, there's an area on the web page to help you find your state park. There's a map feature where it can show you where all the state parks are, all 88 of them in Texas. One of the things I want to encourage everybody to do, because now you can reserve your day pass before you even go to the park. Parks are so popular right now. Even before the pandemic, we were having to turn people away at certain parks. So it's good to guarantee that you're going to have a spot when you before you even go to the park. So you can reserve a day use spot online, just going to the website and clicking on reserve. And then if you're curious about what you can do or what you want to do, you can look at our calendar of events, right? And see what special events are taking place. Now, right now, our special events are limited right now, and our interpretive programs are limited. We have a great crew of interpreters across the state whose job it is to educate you about nature, and about the state park that you go to. We give interpretive programs, we give night hikes, we give astronomy tours, we do nature hikes, we do guided programs, we do storytelling, old cowboy songs and stories at Lake Mineral Wells. David Owens does a great job, but you can find all those events on our calendar of events. If you have a particular interest that you want to see where to go, that's where you can do that on our website. And so you can start your adventure on the reservation page. You can see here where it says find an adventure. You can type in your location or a location for a state park, and it'll direct you to state parks in your area. Or if you know the state park you want to go to, you just type it in. And then you can also select what activity you're interested in. If you're interested in getting a day pass, if you're interested in buying a state park annual pass, or if you're interested in making a campsite reservation, you can do that. The beautiful thing about our campsite reservations is now you can see the campsite you want and reserve that specific campsite online, and you can see what it looks like before you even get there. And so when you say, I want site number 23 at Blanco State Park in Sagebrush Camping Loop, you know when you get there, that's the park site you're going to get. And you can see what it looks like, how close it is to the restroom or not. All those things you can look at online. You can do group reservations and online. Some of our group reservations are just now starting to open back up due to COVID-19. I think the next Monday we're going to open up for new reservations for group reservations. But our group barracks and areas for overnight, our group refectories, our group halls like Mac Dig Pavilion at Palo Duro Canyon, our rec hall, the refectory here at Bastrop State Park, they make great places for families to gather, make great places for businesses or social clubs or service organizations to gather and do team building activities. You can schedule a interpretive tour for your group with the interpreter that's at that park, and they can give you a catered program, either a hike or something at that group facility, but you can make reservations for that if you want to go as a group. And then you can also find your park events. And also just a benefit of being able to buy a state park annual pass online. You pay for it online and it's active as soon as you get it. So you may not have the physical card, but as soon as you pay for it online, you can start using it, and it allows you and everybody in your vehicle into any state park in Texas for free. The pass itself costs $70, but when you think about, our entry fees of $3, $4, $5 per person to get into a park, or per adult, kids under 12 are free. But if you think about that, you can spend $70 pretty quickly if you start your adventure of going to state parks on a regular basis. So $70 is quite a deal to be able to get you and everybody in your vehicle into a park for free. And you can buy a $25 additional supplemental pass for somebody else in your household if you usually have 2 vehicles. So it is a vehicle pass, so you need to have it for each vehicle. But if you go to the park without the pass and you have purchased it, they can look you up in the system, because the park pass is tied to your account. And when you make your reservations for a day pass online and you already have an annual pass, it just won't charge you a fee, but you can still get a permit. So that's how you start your adventure. I would recommend that. That's very important to start to make reservations ahead of time, especially now. Before COVID-19, it was easy to just show up at a lot of parks, but now we have had to limit capacity to ensure social distancing and to ensure that places where people gather, like trailheads and restrooms, we didn't get large crowds at those places. So having reservations online ahead of time is working out great for the staff for sure, but also our visitors too, because it assures them of getting into a park. So this is where you can start your adventure, and all sorts of good information online about park visits. And I wanted to talk about this real quick, the Texas Outdoor Family Program. If you have never been to a park, which several of y'all have mentioned that at the beginning, don't worry. You may be a little anxious about it. There's a program where you can sign up for. It's suspended right now because of COVID, but we're going to start that up as soon as it's safe to do so. But you can sign up. You don't have to worry about a thing. You get to go camping with an expert. They'll show you how to fish. They'll show you how to do Dutch oven cooking, how to make coffee outdoors, set up your tent, and you're camping with somebody, so you don't have to do it by yourself. And they'll teach you the ins and outs of camping and being outdoors, whether it be fishing, swimming, rock climbing, all those things you get to do with an expert. So this is an excellent way to learn how to camp and be outdoors if you have never been. So I just wanted to talk about that and let you know that. And the other good part about that is we supply everything you need. So you don't have to buy a bunch of equipment or buy a bunch of tents or anything like that. We will supply all of that. So I wanted to talk about the Texas Outdoor Family. If you're new to the outdoors and you want more information, start with the website. But if you want to start an adventure camping, you and your entire family can go with an expert. So as we wrap up here, just want to say, this is one of my favorite quotes when it comes to nature and being outside. The most beautiful things in life are not things. They're actually people, places, memories, and pictures. They're feelings. They are moments. And once again, they are smiles and laughter. I can't explain to you how it feels to watch a child or a kid catch the fish for the first time, catch a fish for the first time. The way their face lights up, that's a moment they will forever remember, and the excitement they have. Sometimes they don't want to touch the fish, and sometimes they do, but they will remember that moment for a lifetime. And those are the moments. That's why I love my job. That's why I love my job as a superintendent, because the diversity in the work was fantastic. You never know what you were going to be doing. You could be behind the desk one day. You could be blazing or cutting out a new hiking trail the next. And then the next day you could be watching a kid catch his first fish or her first fish. So those are the things that inspire me to do what I do. And the other things that inspire me nowadays is seeing folks like Currie Case and seeing folks like Darren Peoples that I've seen early on in their high school career have that same passion and that same fire. So this quote is exactly right. Those moments and laughter that are created by nature and being outdoors are what inspire me. And so with that, I will leave with an invitation. If you have not been to a state park, or you have been to a state park and you want to go again, I just want everybody on this presentation to know that parks are here for everybody. We do this job because we want to protect the use and enjoyment of state parks for every one of you and every one of your kids and grandkids and future generations as well. No matter what you look like, no matter what your grades are, even if you went to the University of Texas, you are still welcome in Texas state parks, because at the end of the day, life's better outside. So thank y'all, and I appreciate you having me, Lacey. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with everybody, and I'm more than happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions.
Well, Director Franklin, this is such a gift that you've given us as the state workforce, and we've got people from all over the state, multiple agencies, higher education institutions, lots of Texans participating in this webinar today, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this morning with us. I know you have a lot going on, but it really has been a lot to all of us, and you definitely inspired all of us to get out and check out our state parks. So we're very grateful, and hopefully we'll get you on another one of these in the future.
Excellent. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.